Hey folks, and welcome. Today we are going to be talking about this big blue beast. This is my new Anyang 88 power hammer. The reason I'm doing this video is there's not a whole bunch of information showing these hammers more in detail, and I kind of wanted to show that for other people who might be interested in buying one of these. So stay tuned and we'll get started. Okay, so like I mentioned before, this is an 88-pound hammer. What that means is the ram, which is this guy right here, the thing that does the hitting, weighs 88 pounds, and that is the general distinction on power hammers for their size. So the reason I went with this as opposed to like a 55 or a 33-pound hammer is because this can do what all those other hammers can do and more, and it's giving me options to grow into it and forge bigger material that you wouldn't necessarily be able to do with a smaller hammer. The reason I went with the Anyang hammer is it is a self-contained hammer, and what that means is all the pieces to make it function are in the machine, so you don't need any sort of alternate compressor or anything else to get this puppy running. Alright, so I'm going to touch on a few things I really like about this hammer and how I feel about it before getting into kind of how it works. First off, the customer service for this hammer was amazing. We were running into a few electrical issues, mostly just with the building I'm in and stuff, and they were just really helpful and really genuine about helping, and it was greatly appreciated, and we got this thing running immaculately. The overall construction of the hammer seems very solid. I haven't really experienced too many other power hammers in my life, so I don't really know where the baseline is, but just from common knowledge of different tools and different forging tools, this seems like a very well-made, very high-quality tool that's going to last a very long time. Alright, so let's go over just a few other features of this hammer. It runs on 30 amps of 220-volt power. Its shipping weight was about 4,000 pounds. It's currently bolted by 6 bolt locations to the concrete floor. The concrete floor is about 4 inches thick, which is right on the minimum of thickness you want for this size of hammer. There is a little bit of vibration that shoots out from it, which isn't ideal, and having this on an isolated concrete pad would probably be best. One modification I've had to do, it's not really a modification, is I've put a car engine heater on the oiling box to keep the oil warm. I'm using a 30 weight oil, which is on the thicker side, and this shop does not have very much heat in it, so at colder temperatures the oil flows less well, so having that, at least while the hammer is warming up, has been a good thing to do. So let's go ahead and talk about how this thing works. Alex Steele just did a really cool segment in one of his videos going inside the power hammer and really describing how it works, so if you want a better understanding of that, I'd go check out that video. But if not, I'll just kind of give a very basic understanding, because I have a very basic understanding of how this machine works. So in the back we have a large flywheel that's being driven by the 5 horsepower motor. Inside the casing, which is right back here, we have a shaft, and that's attached to a piston on a rod, and the piston, when the flywheel is turning, is going up and down. In the front we have another piston, which is the actual ram, and when that piston in the back is going up and down, it's creating air pressure, and that air pressure is going through a series of valves, and those valves, when the treadle is pushed down and up, are moving to create a space for the ram to go up and down. And that's very basically how it works. It's not a very good explanation of how it works, but that's how you hit stuff. Pretty crazy. So before I get this running, I need to grease up the grease zerks, because it's that time in the month. I do it the first of every month. That is what is recommended. You do it once a month, and that'll give you a cool look at what it looks like on the inside. So on each side of the hammer there are 2 arrows that say grease, and that is where we will put the grease. Regular maintenance on this, there's really not much you have to do to maintain it. Basically, you got to keep the oiler full. You got to grease the grease zerks, I think once a month. You got to drain the oil once a year or something like that. Apart from just like general upkeep, that's about all you got to do. Tighten the bolts occasionally, and that's it. And this thing will last a lifetime. So there is ye old grease zerk. I don't know how well you can see in there, but that's what that one looks like. We're going to go ahead and give it a few pumps of grease. So, I've got a little grease gun here. Get this puppy on there. Give it maybe 4 or 5 little pumps here. Pull it up, and then we'll just do that on the other side, and that's pretty much all there is to it. Okay, so it's kind of dark in there, but you can kind of see what's going on. So there is another grease circuit here that I'm going to blast with the grease, but there's a shaft going there, which is attached to the flywheel, and then that is attached to this guy, which has the rod going up the piston there. And if I move a flywheel, you can see that puppy moving up and down, just like that, and that's what's causing that air compressing action. Okay, so now that everything is greased up, let's go ahead and turn it on, show you how it runs, and then we'll forge some stuff. Got the switch mounted to the wall here. Motor's now running. Ideally, you'd let the hammer warm up for 5, 10, 15 minutes. I was actually using it earlier today, so it's already kind of on the warmed up side, but you'll notice it'll start off kind of slower, and then as it warms up and as the pieces start moving together, it'll start running a little faster. And then what I've done is typically once it reaches that point, give it a few more minutes, and then it's warmed up enough to use. Right now when I start it, this lever is pointing all the way back, and you'll notice the ram is not engaged yet, and that makes the hammer start up a little easier. Get the little 2x4 here so I can tap this thing super lightly, or I can make kindling if I want to. Awesome stuff. Okay, so I got some 1/2 inch by 1.5 inch bar stock. It's probably the biggest thing I have laying around and don't want to spend a ton of time having it heat up, so let's crush it. It's crazy, this thing hits so hard and so fast that you can actually keep the material hot. So, in conclusion, this hammer is awesome. I hope that was helpful for anyone interested in these. You get a kind of closer look at what they look like and how they work and what they do. So anyway, hope that was helpful for you, and see you on the next one. Bye.